At the beginning, it was a mistake. So I was more like into Firefly.
So, Jhonan, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me
You
here.
had to come so far to get here.
Yeah, we're very far, like
So,
that.
Jhonan's my neighbor. He lives up the hill, and I don't know what it was with my dog, like jumping on you.
I think like he can sense my dogs, so from far.
He doesn't like your dogs for some reason. I don't
No.
know what. I mean, so dog owners, your dog's totally fine around most dogs. He gets
They
around
just can't
yours.
stand each other.
That's just like, it's like the worst.
I
man.
would love if they can get together,
It's
like
like
we
Joe
do.
Biden and Donald Trump.
Something like
you couldn't
that.
put them in the same room.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Anyway, thanks for coming down.
Thank you for the invitation.
Dragonfly Sushi Rolls.
Yes.
How long have you been open?
We actually have been open for 2 years.
How many?
2 years, but the project started like 4 years ago, actually.
Right.
We started doing deliveries during the pandemic.
I remember because I would order food and you guys would deliver it. And
Probably I arrived like at 9 or 10 by then because
No,
I
you know,
had
it
no
was-
clue.
well, I mean, that was a tough time
Yes.
because you weren't supposed to go out.
No, and we had a permission to feed the fish
Oh, did you?
in the port.
Okay.
So that will allow us to go out in certain hours, go and run errands, and then like do the deliveries, So because we were allowed, because of my girlfriend has her business
Right down at the port.
right now in the port.
Explain what Stefania does.
Stefania does. She does have at home. We do grow little tiny fish, and at the port she does have these fish tanks.
Right.
So the tourists get there, clean their food, and then they clean. It's a very, very good sensation
Yeah.
about when you do it. So you take your feet down, and then they start coming in little by little, start getting adjusting, and then at one point you start feeling like ticklish about it,
Yeah.
So and then it's a very relaxed.
It's pretty
sensation.
relaxing. And I know you guys take a lot of care. That's a lot of work.
A lot of work, yes, and especially you have to keep the environment because it's artificial environment,
Right.
so you have to make sure that every time is we have electricity.
Anyway, so between that, she's
Mhm.
also working with you at Dragonfly.
She's also working with me. Like I was the one who had the knowledge. Actually, I learned from a chef, Ben, who was the previous owner.
Right.
Where I am right now.
Right.
And unfortunately, the pandemic came. It was devastating for some people. For me, was a hit of luck. Like a jackpot,
Right.
because I found a way to grow myself and stay away from certain things that was doing me wrong, like alcohol.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing about life is we all are young
Yes,
and
exactly.
we make mistakes, and hopefully you make them when you're young,
Exactly.
and hopefully you get past them.
Yes, exactly. Leave them behind, and keep on going. So I started working, and at one point, I started getting busier and busier. So I needed certain help. So at that moment, I remember that she had a place that she was running for Airbnb, and guess what? The pandemic came, and that only lasts for 3 months. So she had signed a contract, and we decided to use the house as a laboratory to create this type of sushi that right now the people are enjoying it, and that gave us the chance to create clientele. Sometimes I was going to during lunch and have a couple of pre-orders and a couple of dive shops on the island. Thank you for those. Actually, that were the people who helped me
Yeah.
to get in contact with other customers. So yes, we did that, and unfortunately, Ben passed, and the place was empty.
Right.
And the people already knew me, from the last year that I worked with him. I was the face of the restaurant. We decided like should we take it or not? We were debating if we take it the deliveries to the next level, and then I don't regret when we did that decision. Very rough, but very hard.
Business anywhere in the
Mm-hmm.
world is. There's a friend of mine, and I was talking to him, and he was asking me about how's business with the radio station. And this
Mm-hmm.
was a guy I worked for. I was around him for 20 years, and I said, it's not much fun right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this was during COVID, right? And he said the problem with business is everybody expects it to be fun, but it's business. And so it's fun when you buy it and
Mm-hmm.
start it, and it's fun when you sell it, if you
Yeah,
can sell it for a profit.
exactly.
And so he goes, in between, it's work, and you got to
Yes.
remember that.
Yeah, you gotta remember that you have to be constant. For example, in my case, if I'm not there, it has to be the same taste as if I made it.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I think, as a restaurant, we keep on being constant. So no matter if you try lunch or no matter if it's Friday, it will taste the same.
I tried to run a restaurant at Caribe Tesoro
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of COVID, and I found that was a big problem
Mm-hmm.
because I was kind of lucky, but I had two cooks in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and one wanted to cook it her way, and the guy wanted to cook it his way. And I was trying to explain it. It's not either of your ways. It's the
Yes.
way the menu is supposed to be served. And they would argue over how it was done. And you run into that here. I mean, I'd been to some other places where you go in one day and it's fantastic, and you go in another day and it's not fantastic at all. And you ask what happened. It's like, well, we have a different cook today. It's like, well,
Yes.
how does that happen? That's not
Yeah.
you have to be consistent if you're going to develop a business, any
Yes.
business.
Yes. I think like it's the relationship, that you have with your collaborators or employees. And yeah, I think like we have created at the moment a solid team, and that's why we understand each other. But wasn't easy.
No.
We saw already a lot of faces, and thank to all of them because of them also we are here. And but yes, it's very hard, especially when it's not that I can just get 50 resumes per
No.
week,
No.
at my restaurant. So there's no culinary schools in
No.
here, so you have to face all that. Uh, I'm glad that we found these girls that have needs, to support their family. So
They're motivated
yeah, they're
people.
motivated because they have to support their kids, and that's what the motor that pushed them in order to keep on going on the restaurant. But it's great. It's great.
You've proven that it can be done.
Yes.
And a lot of people come here and start and they can't make it. So that's a big accomplishment right there. You picked the name Dragonfly. You were telling me once that you chose it for a special reason.
Yes, it was like at the beginning it was a mistake. So I was more like into Firefly. But then, I start calling Dragonfly and Dragonfly and Dragonfly. And when I met Steffi, actually she was trying to make a tattoo. And then I had the name and we were like, wow. And days after, we start searching because of a friend sent me something related about the name of a dragonfly. And it is actually mean a balance because of balance. It has to be important in our life. Life cannot just be happy, otherwise you'll be bored.
Right.
There have to be certain obstacles that keep you proof that you are a solid person, or you have to pass certain obstacles in order to move to the next level. So I think when I found that, I found so cool, that the dragonfly can move in different directions. It goes all up and down, back and forth. So I think like I get very identified with that, especially at that moment that I was leaving behind certain um things, that I used to do in my past.
Right.
So It was great when I read that. I was like so shocked, and I think I'm still
Did you
applying
take it
on
as a
that.
sign?
Yeah, I actually have a friend who does jewelry. Chucho, you probably
Yeah, Chucho's great.
a lot of people know him. So I had a number. I live in Panama. For a year, I run a restaurant, hotel. It was a hotel, like a boutique hotel in Bocas del Toro. So that was like a very weird and great experience for me to challenge myself because I was in a isolated place. But then I quit, and on my way back, I met a couple of guys that were like selling these ember stones. So they gave me one. I carry all the way here. It was broken pieces, and then he made me one piece that has the dragonfly at the back. Because I started identifying with that thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Now, where you're located at Coral Stone.
Yes, we're located in second level in Coral Stone in Sandy Bay.
Right. That's a problem, right? At this point, this is the last day we're recording this. We're the last day of August, and the traffic is it's a disaster there because you've got one side of the road that's concrete, the other side's dirt, and at that particular location, that's pretty much where they're letting the cars get on and off. It's right in front of your place.
It's right in front, and now of course.
How much has that affected your business?
It has been affecting because of not all the people wanting to drive, especially with condition of the road, especially if you don't want to ruin their car, and it's very challenging.
Coming from, Sandy Bay where we live, which is near Tranquil Seas, you have to go up past AKR, which is right now covered with dirt. There's nothing going on there. It's bumpy.
Yeah, muddy.
Very bad. And then right around where the grocery store is, there is a giant hole because there was a problem with drainage.
Yeah.
So now they're having to refix all of that. And then you've got one lane that goes around the school, the middle school, near Pirates Den and Cafe 314. And then you got to go up the hill and then get to your place. And so I feel for you, brother. I mean, but hopefully that won't take much longer.
I hope, they can finish soon, and take in consideration sometimes that other models in other countries that they work at nighttime, for an example.
Yeah.
And, they can also take in consideration have a double shift.
Right.
Work in the morning and work at nighttime, because this can really affect the business that are right there, And it's not that we receive a discount because of we're selling less.
No.
So
there are certain countries, depending on the motivation, like I was in California in 1989, gigantic earthquake. I mean, it damaged miles of these interstates. You've been to the U.S. and you know how big those roads are.
Yeah.
And we're not talking tiny roads, not 2 lane. We're talking eight lanes across.
8 lanes.
Right. And we're talking raised 8 lanes that had fallen down. And they did what you did, but they were working 24 hours a day.
Yes.
To get it finished. So it comes down to the will of the government to get it done, or who's paying for it.
Exactly.
And sometimes, Martina, who does the morning show with me, and I were talking, and we were noticing sometimes they'll stop for 2 weeks at a time, and you're like wondering,
what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, especially, for example, just 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, they stopped for 3 weeks.
Yes.
When it was all sunny.
Perfect.
Perfect weather. And right now it's like all cloudy and rainy, and they're working on the rain, sometimes covering with the plastic,
Yeah. It's got to be difficult to do that.
Yes.
It'll change, as you were saying.
Yes.
As you were saying, one thing about the dragonfly is balance.
Yes, exactly.
And you learn from these things. So
the process, it's hard to process, but the result at the end, is going to become like beneficial for the whole community, especially if there's a lot of people who do bicycle, they're doing the,
right.
The lane for bicycles too.
I didn't know that. They're building a bike lane?
Well, they did in French Harbor, so I'm assuming they're doing in here in this side
It would
too.
be nice to be. It'd be nice to have that
sidewalks too.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, anything like that where people
Mhm.
can walk because it's
Mhm.
dangerous at night.
Can be dangerous. You know, there's has been a couple of accidents,
Yeah.
and we have to take in consideration. You know, here. You know, I think as a municipality, it can provide a lot of learning. You know, because of here we have people from all over the world.
Right.
And I think the opinion of someone else, you know, is important too. Not just Honduran citizens, you know, most of Honduras don't have
You
the
know,
chance to get out of the country, so they don't know what certain things
or even
work.
leave their hometown.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people from Tegucigalpa and San Pedro Sula
Mm-hmm.
and even La Ceiba. You know, we're a plane ride over.
Yeah.
They've never been here.
Yeah.
They've seen it. And they have an opinion and they think of weird things about the islands, that the islands is just a bunch of partiers all the time and that never work. And they're all vacationers, which isn't true.
Yes.
I mean, the businesses here work really hard,
Uh-huh.
and you have to make it because it's more expensive to do anything on this
Yes,
island.
definitely the life here is more expensive, you know.
Yeah.
Like when I got here, my first time in 2009, I've seen different changes, you know, on the island, and I can see right now, you know, with the level of how rents are increasing too, you know.
Roatan, to me, seems to be, certainly like more cosmopolitan in the sense of the mix of people and the different cultures, because you can run into people from Spain, Italy. A lot of Europeans are here from all over, different places in Europe. So everything from Irish people to Czechs to Slovakians to people from, like Croatia and Portugal. It's just a different group of people, which is good.
Yeah, it is good.
And it brings a lot of different exposures. And I know it affects the way you prepare your menu. We'll talk about that. So one thing I remember, after you had reopened, you redid the room, and you took the painting "The Great Wave Off of Kanagawa" by Hokusai.
Yes.
Which I modeled my radio station's logo after, kind of subconsciously and kind of not. But that guy who did it did a fantastic job, and it's amazing how big it is.
It is amazing, you know, like actually that was an accident.
And we're talking about the wall inside your restaurant in case people are confused.
Yeah, if you guys haven't had the chance to check the mural, you know, we do have a mural that it has a geisha and I think a Japanese warrior, you know.
How was it an accident?
It was because of, you know, I always work, you know, the sushi station, what we call it in the restaurant, it's an open area where I can have access to see the bar, the table right in front, you know, which we consider like it's one of those with stools. So I always have seen this big wall, you know, on my left side where the food comes out. So it always was empty to me,
right,
you know.
It was.
Even when Ben was there, you know, there was only like 3 frames that didn't help that big wall. So, and I remember Ben had the idea to start projecting a couple of videos on, you know, maybe on Friday night. That never happened. So that thing's still there. The board that he set it up to do that is still there. We just use it to put the municipality permits right now, you know, in order to use it. But you know, when I get there, I say like, okay, now before I had not to say anything because the place wasn't mine, but right now that is mine, I have this big challenge. So what am I gonna do with this? And I had the idea to do wallpaper with Stefania. So we ordered it from China, this big paper wall that it was sent to Boston, Massachusetts, instead of Miami in order to get it here. So we talked to the people and can you send to me that to the original address, meaning Florida, because they send it to Boston. They send it back to China. So we waited for 3 months and we were in a rush to open the restaurant. So I remember I had a friend of a friend, you know, of a friend that posted this guy making graffiti. So I start kind of like stalking him on his art. And then I was afraid how much he was gonna charge, you know. But his name is Kariki. Actually, you know, I asked to him if he can bring me like a little sketch about how the wall was gonna be, but he's a busy guy, as you, as me, you know. So he never had the chance to do it. And he got there, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing?" You know. So I was kind of pissed at the beginning, you know, or upset about that because I request that from him
Right.
just before he comes here.
Yeah.
He
Generally, if
arrived.
you're going to have somebody do a piece of
Yes,
art, you want to see it.
especially that size, you
Yeah.
know. So I left, and then I came back in 2 hours. I run errands, go to supermarket, get in, and I start paying attention about what.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Incredible,
Really
incredible.
did it. Really did a great job, and it's a classic piece of art.
Hmm.
How did you get your start? Um, you know, you and I've had conversations,
Hmm.
and you've kind of tipped me off about like some of the directions you because you like to constantly be changing things, and you're looking down the road, and the thing about a restaurant, even a radio station, um, every few years you better be reinventing it because it
Yes,
gets boring, and especially in the restaurant business, you see the curve,
yes,
and sometimes if you wait too late,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the business is done. It's over.
I think we know not just now, you know, there's always a trendy thing in between a certain period of time is what I'm trying to say. And here in Roatan, you know, we are like off the grid, kind of to
In a
say,
lot of ways, we're
in a
way
lot
off
of
the grid.
ways. So we sometimes we miss those tendencies that are, you know, developing ideas or providing a certain style, people identifying with things, you know. So I like to be on top. So I like restaurants that are, you know, that are my kind of like a food for my brain, you know, that I start seeing like texture, colors, juices, and you know, and things like that. And that's why I like to change, you know, because I get bored of doing the same thing, and just so I can discover myself doing. How can that be? You know, once we equipped the kitchen, that became a laboratory for us, you know. So, for example, I before I met Stefania, you know, I cook always, but I never did measure anything. But I found out that was very important, you know. I, I took a couple of courses to how to cook, but I cook for myself and friends, you know, so I wasn't that formal.
If you're going to be consistent, you
But
have
if
to
you want to be
measure.
consistent, you
You don't
have to
have a choice.
measure, you know. So I find out, and if you follow the procedure just the way it is, and then it can be your if you wanted to add like your touch, you know, because nobody will tell you the right recipe, you know. Sometimes for my taste, it can be too sweet, especially in the pastry, you know, or it can be too spicy. Some people don't all not all the people eat spicy.
Right.
So that can be combined, and you know, you add less or more, or too thick or too runny, you know, or crispy, and then becomes like crunchy, and then you become addict to results. So that's why I put in myself into proof of try, try this, try that, and especially now that you know we're taking advantage when we can to leave the country, you know, to absorb those ideas and implement, because nothing has to be the same. I'm the type of person that don't do copy and paste. I can probably do my criteria and recognize if it's something that will be doable in order to have the clientele that I have on the island, if they will accept it, you know, because not all the people like raw, not all the people like cooked
Mhm.
or fried, you know.
Do you think my observation is probably along the lines of yours, but do you think that because you are on Roatan, you do have a little bit more freedom to change things and try things?
You know, I see Rotan like a blank page, and I see a lot of opportunity. I've seen Rotan in my ups and down in my life, So it has been a learning lessons, you know. Before I had a photography um, business with Pirates of the Caribbean, so I was doing photography by then. It was in a totally different field. It has its challenges, but you know, I see it like a way of opportunity for a lot of Hondurans, you know, like me that came from Tegucigalpa. Like I came here just to have an maybe an opinion of what it was living in the Caribbean because it was my country because I wanted to discover my country, but I never thought that it was gonna be my home for so many years, you know.
Right.
And right now I'm right on the ocean, taking my dogs to the beach, enjoying time, grabbing coconuts, you know, learning about the food here, you know. So yeah, I like it.
It's a lot different than living in Tegucigalpa.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A
I've
lot
been to
different.
Tegus and I've been to some nice restaurants there, and
Oh yeah.
it's a pretty place at night. It's got a lot of positives.
Yes.
But like any major city, and especially a city in Latin America, it's got its enclave of people who are really well off,
Hmm.
and the people not so well off, and people who really are barely getting by.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I see that wherever I've been. Doesn't matter what city I've been to in Mexico.
Okay, you probably wanted to stay where you already visit, not where I did grow up. I did grow up on MS-13
Oh wow,
gang neighbor, you
wow,
know. So it was very like
scary,
scary, you know.
oppressive as a kid.
Yeah, especially you know, mom and dad they were providing food, and you know they carry me on to have me in a great college or institute. You know, we call it institute. So I had a chance to meet people, and that gave me the chance to see other perspectives of the same city, but in a different way. So that's why I can be multifacetical,
Faceted,
you
see,
know?
yeah,
So that's why I don't mind being here or there or being, you know, I can be moved everywhere. Remember the dragonfly?
yeah. Did you feel like there was something bigger than just where you were? Some people I find, um, if they don't think there's a chance,
Mm-hmm.
they'll stay where they are, right? And especially when I was watching a movie and it was talking. One of the characters is from the U.S. and
Mm-hmm.
then one of the other characters is from another country, and they're always poking fun at him because he's like, "We'll get through this," and they're like, "You Americans and your sense of optimism, you think you can do anything." And so I kind of grew up with a dad who said, "Oh, whatever you want to do, you can accomplish it." And so I had that, but I've run into people and I've had to try to teach that to them
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, well, and I'm like, no, you can learn this. You can know how to do this.
Yes,
Once people see hope, they can go after it. But
exactly.
sometimes you have to point the flashlight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I think you have to find first what you are good for. I think in order to not waste your time, you know.
That can take a long time.
That can take a long time, but to me, it's like I was a dreamer, but
That's good though.
it was good. But your dreams, you have to follow them. You know,
Yeah.
it's not that you have to sleep here, wake up, have a nice dream. No, there's the door out there. There's a piece of paper that you have to fill. There's the action after that paper, you
Yeah.
know, that you have to chase, and that's how you create your dream.
Yeah.
So I have people, you know, that always tell me like, "Yo, you know, you will never get do it that, you know, or that's difficult, or you know." But
But it's just as difficult to stay in the same place.
yes, exactly, in the comfort zone. So I was in both. That's what I'm saying, and I prefer challenge myself, you know, than do nothing and see my life, you know, pass in front of my eyes. Regardless, we're all gonna die.
We're all terminal.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
One thing you and I talked about was it was studying um, how other people did this. And you started off as basically a server
Hmm.
in a hotel situation, right? A
Yeah,
restaurant.
yeah. I did serve in for Argentinian Grill, for an example. I did work for Tranquil Seas when Chris Benson had run the place with Monica back in the days. I just like being curious, like that's what I'm saying when I was talking about what are you're good for. Um, I felt that I was capable to try something, get home, go do a grocery list, get the ingredient, and try it. And I feel like that's in anything. If you have like your washing machine, and your guys like the tech guy is not answering. One time I did fix a drying machine from a YouTube video, and that saved me $250
And time,
and time.
especially on an island.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll be there sometime soon.
Yes.
Like when? I don't know. We're kind of busy. I hear water here at the beach. We're busy. We'll talk to you later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can take that $250 for a nice dinner,
That's
and a
great.
nice night in the Utila.
You have a new business. It opened relatively in the last, say, 6 months.
Oh
Right?
yes, we started in February, March, I think.
And it's called
It's called the Poke Bar.
the Poke Bar. And I've eaten there a couple of times, and it's in La Placita.
We're located in La Placita on the left lane, on the right lane.
As you
sorry.
walk down to the end. That's a tougher environment, I would think, as a restaurant because there's so many small places
Mhm.
and nobody knows what to pick.
Yes.
I mean, if you walk into a place like that, it's kind of how do you get somebody to come to your door?
Like right now, talking about the tendencies that we were chatting before, I find out that people find us because of the healthy food. Because if you have tacos, you have the fries, you have Honduran typical food. So I think we were recommended word of mouth to other people
Right.
because of over there it's like you can tell that the taco guy is offering. We don't try to compete beside of what we offer as a healthy food. And right now is people are start taking care of themselves. I found a niche that I can provide that for this percentage of the island because there's a lot of people now who can take care of themselves and be cautious about what they put in their
What
body. You know.
what you take in is it's truly medicine. I think they're
Exactly.
finally. I mean, a lot of the people I follow, like Dr. Andrew Huberman
Mhm.
and Peter Attia, these are people who research, for instance, aging and more specifically staying as young as you can and being healthy for as long as you can. And a lot of what we eat really affects us in a bad way. And so this is all about, watching and taking in the best of stuff. And you guys do that. I mean, everything I ate, I had a poke bowl and I think I had the tuna, the eye, and everything in it was fresh.
Fresh.
You could taste it being fresh. And there's a difference. You can go to a restaurant and sometimes you can't taste, you don't notice it.
Yes.
But it was so fresh, it was noticeable.
Yes, and like we try to do it like a shop daily. So meaning like the vegetable have to be in bought daily, or buy daily.
Mhm.
And that's what we do. And over there, I think like what people have been liking a lot are the sauces too.
Yeah.
Because you can have a different taste. You can have the same ingredients, but if you add a different sauce, it will taste different.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of like music changing the key.
yes,
You can do it like reggae or do it like blues. It's the
yes,
same song, but it sounds different.
exactly,
Yeah.
something kind of like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so people have been liking it a lot. I think it's just a matter to give it some time to and work for the next high season. When the cruise ships start to come. So we have a variety of clientele. I will tell.
Right.
Mhm.
What do you think drives you? What
What
what gets you up in the day?
what wakes me up in the day? Uh, you know, challenging myself.
Yeah.
See where I can get from myself. Prove myself. See how far I can get. You know, like I said, we are all gonna die. So it's like try. I never thought I started the business with $100. To be honest. And before that, I was selling, I'm not sure, they're delicious burritas. In
Okay.
Honduras, you do have a tortilla that beans, it's like a baleada type, it's kind of like in Central America, we have like same ingredients, But this one, you have two tortillas, avocado, you can put anything, but it's a tiny one. So I was waking up in the morning at 4 a.m. and selling with my friend Jimmy, and in the morning, and then I stopped that, and then Stefania borrowed me $100, and she knew I had this this gift to cook that I didn't see it, for an example, because sometimes you forget who you are, and then I realized like, okay, I have this, I have all the ingredients, so I think I'm gonna start tomorrow, and since then I haven't stopped, and actually we opened another business, but I think that was location,
Sure.
location wise more.
You didn't quit
I didn't quit.
after it didn't work. I mean, one thing that I think you have to constantly do, and especially today, is you try it. If it doesn't work, you learn something from it and you apply it to something new. There's nothing that says you have to stay there.
No, no, no. Yes, exactly. It's like sometimes location can be affect. Your goal doesn't have to change. Your plan is what it have to change.
Right.
You just have to be positive. Before I wasn't positive at all. There's time, I think for all of us, that sometimes the head play tricks with you, that make you feel uncomfy. But then if you think like, that's
Was this when you were younger?
yeah.
Like what years do you think it was?
Probably between 20s and 30s.
Okay.
Right now I'm getting not how can I say it? Like more handsome and
You've always been
older.
handsome. Yeah, you've always been handsome.
So it was like it was more like okay, can I do it or not? Right now it's like I can do it, like the doubts are gone, and I think it's like because it's daily, small goals lead you to a big project.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where I'm going, but I wanted to keep going.
Yeah. Does it really matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Final question. Of all the sushi rolls you make, which one seems to make people the happiest?
Okay, the rolls that I make is one from Ben.
So Chef Ben, who started it, was Bamboo when it was open. So if you go back that many years, people, this is somebody. Ben was a great character. He was some kind of personality.
Oh yeah.
And
we had a lot of fun.
Amazing cook.
Yes, he was.
And he
was my mentor. Like it's kind of funny, because I hear different stories on the island. We're living on a small island, It goes through here, get out of here, but it's funny because like the band that I met, I think I was one of the only few person that I met like that, so close.
Right.
We had fun.
Yeah.
When it was time to work, we did work.
Yeah.
He had a lot of capacities. I saw that place full, a lot of time, a lot of stress. And I think that's what I did learn from him, is how he was able to do it. Because when he came to the island, he told me his story too. How he came and asked for a job in Bananarama. And guess what? They were looking for a chef. And the next day he was working. And he was supposedly coming from Costa Rica, jobless, not knowing. Some people in the boss, I think, told him about Roatan. And then that night he decided to sleep in San Pedro Sula. And then the guy that told the story about Roatan, tourists and cruise ships, changed his mind to not continue going to Guatemala. And then he ended up here, but he was zero. And then he started like that too. So that opens me the mind to say that I also can do it.
Right. That's great. So what roll? Ben's roll, what is it?
It is called the walk and roll.
Walk,
Walk and roll.
walk and roll. And
Walk
what
and
is
roll.
that?
The walk and roll is a fusion. It's a Mexican fusion.
Okay.
It is a type of roll that has crab, and it has a guacamole, and each piece has shrimp on top.
You're making me hungry.
Oh, it's really good, you know. But yeah, it's people drive crazy about that roll, you know. I've seen it in a couple of other restaurants trying to offer it, but I'm the one who was closest to him too.
Yeah, you know the secret, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Perfect.
Yes.